today I'm with Kent Barker. He's with First Class Home Mortgage. And Kent, how long have you been in the mortgage business?
So now, let's see, I got my license in 2001. So what is that? Over 20 years now. So it's been a few
It
years.
is 21 years. Yeah.
Yeah, been a couple years.
Yeah, we've seen some things in the business in these past 20 years, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yeah, the industry is constantly changing. That's one of the constants in this business is change.
It
Things
is,
are
but
always going up and down.
and I think you would agree, we've been through some crazy times over the last couple of years, and we're coming into a change in the market. So in my perspective, I see it as many good things, because we've been in such a high stressed market where people are overpaying for homes. They're being forced to give up stuff that they normally wouldn't give up. A lot of buyers weren't able to compete with what was going on in the market. And so it's left a lot of people out of the market. And now we're coming back into a little more level. Now we're here in Utah, we're still seeing a seller's market, but not the extreme seller's market that we had the last couple of years. So, we have programs that many years ago worked great for buyers, but in the last couple of years, they couldn't be in play because you couldn't ask for the buyer to, pay for any closing costs, or the seller, I'm sorry, and ask the seller to accept an offer that's got FHA financing or, VA financing, because they're getting inundated with all these cash buyers, or people who are willing to, sell their third child just to get into a house, So I think that the market is leveling out to be a better buyer market, overall, even though it's still ranked as a seller market because we don't have as much inventory as we needed when it moves into a buyer's market. But, today I wanted to talk to Kent about the FHA financing. And Kent, we met last week and went over some of these things that you have. And I think this is a phenomenal program for buyers that probably they don't understand that it's available. And, it's not a new program, right?
Correct. It's not a new program. It has come and gone. And during the craziness of the seller's market, when sellers didn't even entertain these type of options, it went away for a few years. So
Right.
It is subject to change, but right now it's a great opportunity to take advantage of these programs while they're here.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about this program.
Okay, so real quick, if you're able to see my screen here, there are several programs out there that are available for home buyers that offer 100% financing. And, a lot of times, like I say, in the past couple of years, sellers haven't entertained this because they wanted money over asking price. It was a bidding war. But now, like you say, sellers are willing to help out with buyers and offer some seller concessions. And so the biggest challenge for buyers, for a lot of them in today's market, is coming up with money for a down payment. And there are options for that. If you're a veteran and you've served, you served our country and you've got some veterans benefits, you can get a 100% financing option. If you are willing to live in a more rural area, you can go with a USDA, and they've got some great financing options available for those. 100%, no down payment. But today, like you say, let's talk about the FHA with a DPA, and the DPA is a down payment assistance program.
Okay.
So you've got the down. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so you've got your down payment assistance program, and there's lots of different down payment assistance or DPA programs out there. You've got to make sure that you check around. As a mortgage broker, one of the things we do is we try to find the programs that have the least amount of paperwork for our borrowers, because the sellers still want to have a quick closing. They don't want to be held up with lots of paperwork, and they don't want things delayed. So we look for down payment assistance programs that are very easily applied for and accepted, and so it doesn't delay our financing. So this particular program that we're going to talk about today is a DPA Advantage, and the Advantage program is one of the best ones out there. You can get a grant. This is a forgivable grant at closing, so it doesn't have to be paid back. There's not a second mortgage. There's no second
let's
payment.
reiterate that again. This is not a second mortgage on the house.
Correct.
Which a lot of programs, they'll give you a first and second mortgage. The second mortgage covers your down payment. But this one, I think, is phenomenal because it gives that money up front and you don't have to pay it back. That's a
Correct.
great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to pay it back right on your HUD settlement or your closing disclosures. There will be a grant or a gift given by the lender for the 3.5% down. So FHA loans require 3.5% down. As a borrower, you can get that money gifted from family, which is a great way if you've got family that can help you out. But if not, then we look at these down payment assistance programs, and you can get like I say 2% up to 3.5%. So if somebody wanted to put money down, they certainly could. They could actually put 3.5% of their own money and still apply for the grant and get 3.5% from the lender.
Nice.
So there's ways, and then they've got 7% down on an FHA purchase. But the key thing here is there's no payment required. There's no need, no second lien that we talked about. And the other thing that I love about this program is it can be combined with seller concessions. So on FHA loans, the sellers are able to contribute up to 6% of the purchase price. And so the sellers then are able to help cover all the closing costs and any other concessions that are needed to make the deal work, up to 6%. And we'll go over a scenario here a little bit later on, but the process is very simple. Like we talked about, as a borrower, they're going to fill out or provide information that we do a 1003, we do a loan application, and that's all they need for us to start. We actually do the grant program for them, and we send them all the documentation. So it makes it real easy for them.
Okay.
There are some requirements, just like all loan programs. The main thing that we look at is the borrower's income. The nice thing about this is we can go clear up to 140% of the median area income. So this is phenomenal. A lot of programs out there are limited to 100% or less. And so this really allows borrowers that make a little bit more income, but maybe don't have money saved for a down payment, they could still qualify for this.
Nice.
So we've got first-time home buyers. This is typically who will apply, for this program, or first-time home buyers. That there are some other options out there as well. So any borrower on the loan application who is currently or has been, so they're retired, or they're volunteering, or they plan to, so we've got a lot of flexibility with this program. To anybody that wants to go into, and you can click on the next slide here, there's a lot of different options here. So we've got first responders, police officers, firefighters, public safety officers, paramedics, the list goes on and on. People that are in the medical field or they're out there helping others could be available for this program.
That's an awesome thing, because we know the people in our community who help our communities, we really want to help them move forward. And I think this is a great plan for that.
Yes. So not only first-time home buyers, but you've got a long list here, military personnel. So maybe somebody is in the military, but they haven't quite yet qualified and received their VA benefits. We could still utilize this program to help those in the military, medical personnel, nurses, doctors, Red Cross workers. The list, like I say, there's a lot of opportunity out here to help people in different service-oriented industries that we can provide these gifts or these grants for them to help get into a home.
And I'm seeing that also you have the federal and state employees.
Yeah.
So if you're a civil servant, then this would help as well.
Correct.
So really great information there.
So it is for purchases only, can't be used for a refinance or any of that. It also does have debt to income or DTI limits. And so, you know, VA will give you the highest availability for debt to income. So we look at a borrower's total debts and compare it with their income. For this program, we've got to stay under 49%. So again, we look at all of your debts, your car payments, your student loans, credit cards, the house payment, and it's got to be under 50% of your monthly gross income. So keep that in mind but we do all that work for you. As a borrower or homeowner looking, or individual looking to buy a home, become a homeowner, as a loan officer, that's what I do. I make sure that you qualify with your debt to income. Okay. There are also credit score requirements. You've got to have at least a 620 credit score to be approved for this. And then when we run an automatic underwriting, we run it through AUS, we have to get an approved eligible. So might sound a little Greek or confusing for a lot of people when we say, well, what is an approved eligible? Again, as a loan officer, we run this to make sure that borrowers are qualified. We don't allow manual underwrites for these type of programs. And manual is just basically an underwriter would review it and they would be able to approve it or deny it, but it has to be run through an automatic underwriting system. And once we get that approval, then we're pretty good to move forward.
Nice.
There are other requirements for this program. There is a home ownership education that's required. At least one of the borrowers, if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4 borrowers, you can have multiple borrowers go together on this, but at least one borrower has to complete a class. And they take this class, they pay for it up front, but then at closing, that cost up to $100 will be reimbursed at closing as well. So this program is really designed to help people get into homes, their first home.
And can you tell just a little bit about what that class covers?
So the class is really going to go through all the ins and outs of home ownership. They're going to talk about, you know, doing your due diligence, saving, working on your credit scores, you know, the cost of owning a home, maintaining a home, things of that nature. So it's really educational to help first-time home buyers really understand, you know, what's involved in buying a house.
Good.
So it's a good course. I think all individuals should participate in this class, whether or not they're doing a down payment assistance or not. There are other conventional loan programs that also require a first-time home buyer class as well to get some of those benefits. And so it's well worth the time and energy to study and learn about home ownership. And then if the is willing to reimburse you for that at closing, that's even better.
Absolutely.
So there's lots of options out there. Here's just some quick numbers on a down payment assistance, 100% financing, FHA. I helped an individual that bought a home for $400,000. They were able to get a gift. Again, it shows right on the closing settlement. You can get $14,000 max gift, 3.5% down. The sellers can pay up to $24,000, which is 6% on this purchase. And a lot of sellers today are willing to do that, which is awesome, to help cover all of the closing costs. And then the nice thing about this program is there are no restrictions on refinancing after the homeowners have made 6 house payments. So FHA loans require that homeowners make at least 6 house payments. And then if they're eligible, they can look into what's called an FHA streamline. And a streamline is a great way, if interest rates are lower, to lower that interest rate and lower their payments.
And that doesn't cost them anything, right? When they do that
Correct.
Streamline?
Correct.
And,
yes.
and that's a big difference
So
than just refinancing, because refinancing will have additional fees, but
Correct.
the Streamline does not.
Yeah, so we don't need an appraisal. We don't need to verify income. We don't look at debt to income ratios. It's a much simpler process. They just have to document it and prove that they've been making their house payments on time. And then we have to be able to lower their house payment a certain amount for them to qualify.
Okay.
And so with interest rates being higher currently today, there's a lot of talk and discussion that we'll see rates drop in the next 12 to 24 months. So right now is a great time to buy a house utilizing this program, get some free money from the lender, get some free money from the sellers, get into a home, and then look at a streamline when rates drop down. And there's no
Absolutely.
limit to those streamlines. You know, I've helped borrowers do streamlines multiple times. And again, it's a benefit to them because it's just lowering their house payment.
Right. Well,
So,
and from a buyer perspective, maybe you would, as a buyer, might think that, oh, a seller's not going to give me that kind of money toward, this down payment. But if you look at the market right now, we're seeing a lot of price reductions. And if you look at a home that has had a big price reduction, but if the property could still appraise at the higher amount, because there are a lot of sellers that they're just getting anxious or they're getting scared and they're dropping their price, even though their value is still there. And if the house, I, as an agent, if I'm working with you as a buyer, I want to make sure that the house, what is it going to appraise for? What do we see it in the comparables, what it's going to price at? And if it can price more than what the seller has it priced at now, we may be able to up the price a little bit, as long as you qualify for that, right, Kent? You got to qualify for that.
gotta qualify, yeah.
And be able to ask the seller to pay that difference toward this program. So I really loved hearing about this program, where not only can you get help from the seller, but the lender gives you help as well. And getting into a home, the biggest problem with most people is that down payment, getting that down payment in there. So
yeah,
okay,
so it really is a great time to buy right now. There's a lot of buyers that are hesitant, but once rates start dropping, we're going to see a seller's market again.
right.
And the sellers aren't going to be willing to help out as much. And
Right.
so with the rates being higher and sellers willing to help, and this DPA program has come back in just the last few months now. I actually helped a borrower participate in this program about 4 years ago. They were renting a home, a couple was renting, and they didn't think they could buy because they didn't have the money down, but I helped them get into the house. They've been renting, or they've been owning for over 4 years, and we've helped them streamline twice to lower their payments. Now they're looking, they want to go and buy another house and keep this home as a rental or an investment property. So we've gone from renting and paying somebody else's mortgage to owning, and now they've got a couple $100,000 in equity that they wouldn't have had as renters. And now they're in a position that they can rent that out and now start making some cash flow on it because their interest rates are so low. So, people are hesitant maybe to buy, but really now is an awesome time to buy. Rates are still lower than when I bought my first house,
Mine too.
So it's a great time to buy, and these programs are amazing to help people get into homes that don't have the money down.
Right. Well, and you've got to look at, okay, the last 2 years, yes, our interest rates were low, but the demand was high. Everybody was being forced to pay way higher than what the appraisal values were. It was just insane. In my 25 years of doing business, I had never seen a market like we've had the last 2 years, because people were selling their shorts just to get into a house, and yes, you got a low interest rate, but how much more did you pay than what the house was truly worth? So now that prices are adjusting, if you bought back in the beginning of all this craziness, then you're actually upside down on what you can actually get for your home right now. So now when you're coming into the market at this time, yes, the interest rates are a little higher, but as a buyer, you're still able to make sure that the house appraises for what you're paying for it. You can ask for things, doesn't mean the seller has to give it to you, but there's more leeway and you have more possibilities, and you're not going to be forced to overpay for your home just to get into it. So why not get in now while the interest rates are there? They are what they are. And yes, we do feel that it's going to level out or come down a little bit over the next 2 years. And when you purchase a home, you need to stay in the home for 2 years in order to, once you've hit 2 years, when you sell it, you don't have to pay capital gains tax. So it makes sense to stay in a home for 2 years. So over the course of the next 2 years, it's very likely that our interest rates are going to go back down. And with Kent's program, to be able to just streamline that and move into the new interest rate when you can, I think it's just a great idea to go ahead and do that now, instead of, like you said, Kent, that we're going to get back into a seller's market again. I've lived in Utah for 8 years, and since I moved here, it's mostly been a seller's market. And we know that all the forecasts are showing we're 10 to 13% increase in values, even with the things that are going on right now. So it's a good time to invest in a property. Think about your new home as an investment, not just a place to live. When you're renting, you're paying 100% interest. None of that money is credited to you. You don't get to keep the house. You don't get extra tax benefits, all that, So why not get into a home now and be able to do that? And call Kent and find out what programs are available, because Kent is a mortgage broker. So he can look at different companies to see what they have available and be able to pull in the best program for what meets your needs. So Kent, I'm going to put the contact information for you in the description of the video. So if everybody will look down in the description, you'll see Kent's contact information. And so yeah, be sure to give Kent a call and see what the possibilities are. I mean, I always tell my kids, the worst anybody could say is no, right? So check in, see what can be done, and see if you can move forward in the market and take advantage of great prices right now.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Michelle.